Trump praises Kim Jong Un, calls North Korea a big nuclear nation. U.S. Secretary of State to meet other NATO foreign ministers and discuss lasting peace in Ukraine, and why China confirms eternal friendship with Russia. The latest news next. Analysts at the Institute for the Study of War have said that the United States, Ukraine, and Russia are unlikely to agree on the terms of a full ceasefire within the next 3 weeks. Reported by RSW. US President Donald Trump has spoken of a psychological deadline for Putin to agree to a ceasefire. Trump, answering a question about whether there is a deadline for Russian ruler, dictator Vladimir Putin to agree to a ceasefire, said that it's a psychological deadline. Trump added, "If I think that Russia tapping us along, I will not be happy about it." Finnish President Alexander Stubb said that during his meeting with Trump, he suggested the 20th of April as a potential deadline for complete ceasefire.
Russia is unlikely to agree to a full ceasefire without any conditions within 3 weeks, given that Russia has demanded that the West provide some sanctions relief as a precondition for a temporary Black Sea ceasefire.
The ISW analyst pointed out that on the 25th of March, the Kremlin said it would not implement the agreed ceasefire in the Black Sea until the United States lifted sanctions on the Russian State Agricultural Bank, Rossельхозbank, and other financial institutions involved in international food and fertilizer trade. Bloomberg reported on the 28th of March that Russia was demanding that the European Union reconnect Rossельхозbank to the SWIFT international banking system as a prerequisite for implementing the Black Sea Agreement. Analysts stressed that Russia wanted to determine whether the United States would meet its demands on encourage European partners to support the easing of sanctions. On the 11th of March, during talks in Saudi Arabia, Ukraine declared its readiness to introduce a 30-day ceasefire, provided that Russia also adheres to it. Analysts added that Ukrainian and American officials continued to discuss the terms of the ceasefire for 3 weeks after the 11th of March. In the analyst's opinion, this indicated that the terms of the ceasefire had not yet been fully finalized. Today, on April 1st, German Foreign Minister Annalena Baerbock and her Latvian counterpart Kęstutis Budveris arrived in Kiev. The official X account of the Lithuanian Foreign Minister reports arrived to free Kiev to express Lithuanians' unwavering support to brave Ukrainian nation. "We will continue standing by your side in your fight for freedom and sovereignty. Lithuania supports strong, resilient and prosperous Ukraine in the Europe. Разом до перемоги," the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Lithuania stated. In addition, German Foreign Minister Annalena Baerbock also arrived in Kiev. According to Bild, she was met by her Ukrainian counterpart Andriy Sybiha. This is her 11th visit to Ukraine and likely her last in this position. On site, Baerbock announced further financial support. In particular, Berlin will provide Kiev with another 130 million euros, $140 million in humanitarian aid and stabilization funds today.
Given the deadlock in relations between the U.S. and Russia, it is absolutely necessary that we show we stand by Ukraine and support it now more than ever.
About support for Ukraine from Lithuania and Germany. Support for Ukraine from Lithuania and Germany during the war has been significant but differs in scale and approach. Lithuania has actively assisted Ukraine from the very beginning of the war, providing military equipment, ammunition, humanitarian aid, and diplomatic support. Germany, though initially criticized for its slow weapons deliveries, later became one of the leading suppliers of heavy weaponry, including Leopard 2 tanks, RST, air defense systems, and Patriot systems. Rubio will visit Brussels to participate in the NATO foreign ministers' meeting. The meeting will discuss security in Ukraine, according to the White House. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio will visit Brussels from April 2nd to April 4th to take part in an important meeting of NATO foreign ministers. The main topic of discussion will be ensuring security priorities for the alliance, including increasing defense investments and achieving lasting peace in Ukraine. The meeting in Brussels will also serve as a platform to discuss shared threats, particularly the challenges posed by China to the Euro-Atlantic and Indo-Pacific alliances. During the NATO session, Rubio will discuss the strategic role of the alliance in these regions together with representatives of Indo-Pacific partners. Additionally, Rubio will announce discussions on plans for the Hawk Summit, which is set to take place this summer. Previously, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio has called for a clear distinction between a ceasefire in Ukraine and a final peace agreement. He emphasized that security guarantees for Ukraine must be raised at peace negotiations. According to UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer, security guarantees from the United States are the only effective way to deter Russia from launching another attack on Ukraine. Meanwhile, NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte stated after an emergency summit in Paris that Europe is ready to take the lead in providing security guarantees to Ukraine. China has confirmed the principle of eternal friendship with Russia. Beijing would also like to take an active part in resolving the Ukrainian crisis, as China calls Russia's war against Ukraine. China's Foreign Minister Wang Yi stated,
"The principle of forever friends and never enemies, enshrined in the China-Russia Treaty on Good Neighborliness, Friendship, and Cooperation, serves as a strong legal foundation for advancing strategic cooperation."
Wang Yi is on a 3-day visit to Moscow for talks on strategic cooperation. China and Russia announced a no-limits strategic partnership just days before Russia's invasion of Ukraine in February 2022. Over the past decade, Chinese President Xi Jinping has met with Vladimir Putin more than 40 times. Since then, they have agreed to deepen ties and cooperate on issues such as Taiwan, Ukraine, and their shared rivalry with the United States. Wang Yi stated that the current global conditions require major powers to act as stabilizing forces, and he welcomed steps taken by Russia and the US to improve relations. Wang Yi also dismissed the idea that US President Donald Trump is trying to support Russia to turn it against China, condemning such notions as a relapse into outdated, confrontational, and bloc-based thinking. About negotiations on Ukraine, Wang said that recent talks on a ceasefire in Ukraine have already yielded some results and should continue despite different perspectives and the complex battlefield situation. He added that a peace agreement must be binding and acceptable to all parties, reiterating that Beijing is ready to play its role in resolving the conflict in Ukraine. Xi Jinping has been pushing for greater Chinese involvement in peace negotiations since the early days of the war, which marked its 3rd anniversary in February. Beijing has proposed general principles for ending the war independently and jointly with Brazil, but its ideas have been met with lukewarm reception.
The principle of forever friends and never enemies, enshrined in the China-Russia Treaty on Good Neighborliness, Friendship, and Cooperation, serves as a strong legal foundation for advancing strategic cooperation.
With this statement, he essentially echoed Moscow's stance, which insists that to end the war, its root causes must be addressed, meaning the existence of a sovereign Ukraine. According to a poll by the Razumkov Center, most Ukrainians consider China a hostile country. The only countries viewed more negatively by Ukrainians are Russia and its allies, Iran, Belarus, and North Korea. Only 22% of Ukrainians trust China as mediator in possible negotiations between Ukraine and Russia, while 62% are unwilling to entrust Beijing with such mediation. The USA maintains contact with North Korea and has hinted at the possibility of resuming negotiations with Kim Jong Un, according to Kyodo News. US President Donald Trump stated that there had been communication between his administration and North Korea. He referred to the DPRK as a big nuclear nation and its leader Kim Jong Un as a smart guy. When asked whether he planned to resume contact with Pyongyang or personally reach out to Kim Jong Un, Trump responded that he would do something at some point. "We have a great relationship. He's a smart guy," Trump said. He also noted that maintaining contact with Kim is important, but did not specify what steps he had in mind. In 2018, Trump became the first US president to hold personal negotiations with Kim in Singapore. Later in 2019, 2 more meetings took place, but they did not yield any result, as the parties failed to agree on North Korea's denuclearization in exchange for sanctions relief. The situation worsened after Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine, when North Korea began actively cooperating with Moscow in the military sphere. According to former Biden administration officials, no significant progress has been made in curbing North Korea's missile and nuclear ambitions, although the US has called for dialogue between the countries without preconditions. There is speculation that during his second presidential term, Trump might resume negotiations with Kim Jong Un, but without demanding the complete dismantling of North Korea's nuclear arsenal. That's all for today. Thanks for watching this video. Like and subscribe.